Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Psycho. And this is a classic, one of the most iconic horror films of all time, from one of the greats of all time, Alfred Hitchcock. And this is the last entry into the Filmstagram Movie Club's look at Alfred Hitchcock. And what a way to go out. Now, Vertigo is my personal favorite, but there's no denying that Psycho was revolutionary. And was one of those films that really defied expectations. You started this film, you're watching, it's about this woman, played by Janet Leigh, who steals this money and goes on the run. And it's this very specific kind of film that has tension, has suspense already. Woman on the run, trying to hide, people are after her, and you're thinking, okay, this is an interesting kind of film. And then there's rain, she stops at the Bates Motel. And then things get even more interesting. And Anthony Perkins, his career never really blew up after this particular film, but he's so iconic as Norman Bates. And, like, off the top of my head, I can only really think of Murder on the Orient Express that he's been in besides the Psycho films. But, yes, films. There's sequels. But specifically this film, he is so relatable and nervous and just captured this boiling underneath the surface. And Janet Leigh's a movie star. She grabs attention, she has that screen presence, but really the star of Psycho is Alfred Hitchcock. He knows how to build that tension, how he frames everything. That slow crane shot into that window at the beginning of the film, building up this entering into this life of this woman who you believe is going to take you to the end. And bam! That shower scene. And I'm not worrying about spoiling a whole lot. This film's from 1960, but that shower scene, the quick cuts, the violence, the fear, that shadow walking up to the shower curtain and ripping it back, and the music. The music is iconic in this film. Those strings are terrifying, and it builds up the tension. And you just know that Bernard Herrmann's score really brings life to this film, and the way that Hitchcock shoots it, deciding, like, there's so many things that he does in that particular scene alone that builds up the tension, brings that frenzy, and that shot as the camera twists into the drain and then away, and it's just Marion Crane there, dead. And you have Norman Bates coming down, this symbolism of, like, how he, like, talks about her eating like a bird, and just, like, how he turns his head and looks like he has a beak. Just this character so fully realized, and this tension with his mother, and there's this boiling underneath, and all of a sudden you're watching a different film of her sister and her lover trying to find out what happens. Arbogast, the private eye, brought into this. That, honestly, is one of the most terrifying scenes, is when Arbogast shows up to the Bates Motel and enters the Bates home, in that overhead shot over the upstairs and down the stairs. The music and everything, how it's shot, and, like, it looks a little silly nowadays, but the feat of having that crane shot with him, like, falling down the steps, and dun-dun-dun, and just the way that it just drops, that feeling at the end, and you know something bad just happened. And building up that tension as it gets to that finale of really finding out what was really going on. And it's such a shock. If you don't know what happens, please do not look it up. Watch Psycho for the first time. And looking back, like, the finale of the film is really heavy-handed. That whole entire scene where, like, the doctor's trying to explain everything feels so of its time. And I hate that kind of screenwriting where it's like you have to dump everything right there. Did we really need an explanation of what this was? Maybe in 1960, people really needed to felt reassured that it's like, what is this? What's wrong with this person? But that last shot of the camera going up to Norman Bates as he sits there, the look on Anthony Perkins' face and the fading away of the skull and the chain as all of his secrets are being pulled out of that lake. This is, like, it has its flaws at the very end, and it might jar a lot of people with how swiftly the focus of this film changes. But Psycho is a masterpiece of suspense and thrill and horror. The music, the direction, the cinematography, everything comes together to build perfect tension, and this really is a classic. And which is why we're still talking about it 60 years later. So, you really want to watch something for Halloween this year, go check out Psycho. If you haven't seen Psycho yet, treat yourself, because this is suspenseful filmmaking at its peak. But those are my thoughts on Psycho. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.